Hey guys, welcome back to the Snap Ring Chronicles. Today we're back with another tool video. It's an Indestro ratchet, but before we jump into this ratchet, let's take a second to, if you enjoyed this video or videos like this, could you please give me a like and also subscribe to this channel. Okay, today we have this 1/4 inch drive Indestro 2875. Forged in the USA, and here's a look at the head, the switch, and the bottom plate, and the snap ring. Okay, this is a series from Indestro that's pretty much, I would say this is like one of probably the Cadillac of round head ratchets. This is probably as good as it got, because you know they stopped making these a while ago, but this is as good as round heads got back when they were producing these. They're fine tooth. This one has 52 teeth, this 1/4 inch. So they're pretty fine tooth, and it has like an interesting mechanism that's, especially in this 1/4 inch that I'm gonna show you, it's pretty far out. Let me zoom just to give you a little perspective on this series. Here's a 1/2 inch drive version. This is made by Indestro for Wizard. And Wizard is a brand of Western Auto. And they also made, here's a 3/8 by Wardmaster. Same mechanism. This was made for Montgomery Ward. And here is an Indestro 1/2 inch. You can see the handles are different than the Wizard, but same mechanism inside. And these are beasts. So let's put these aside and let's look at this one. Let me zoom back in so we can take a good look at this. Okay, this has the ring that holds a mechanism similar to an SK. So you take the prongs and you squeeze them together. See if we can get them in place here. And then, okay. Boy. This is much easier to do off camera for some reason. As you can see, the one gets stuck against the wall there, and it gets pretty hard to get out. Okay. There we go. And the mechanism pops out. And here's the ring that likes to be trouble sometimes. And here is the mechanism housing. And as we look, you can see the fine teeth. Like I said, 52 teeth on this mechanism. You can see the broaching on these tiny teeth looks very good. It looks like they did a pretty good job on this tiny 1/4 inch, especially with those tiny teeth. You see there, pretty good picture. And in here is the channel for the ring. You can see the beginning of it here. So a very good broaching job. And here's the mechanism. It has the switch on top. Looks like a cast piece. And looks a bit complicated also, because they had to make sides here. And this little pin in the middle fits in between here to make it switch back and forth. And then you have this protrusion here with the hole in the middle that goes over this protrusion here, this tiny protrusion. Okay, a bit of a warning now. For 95% of you guys out there, don't go any further. Don't take this apart. It's gonna be very difficult to put this back together. It's somewhat difficult for the half-inch versions, because they're bigger, so not as hard. And even the 3/8 version, the parts are bigger, so still a little bit harder, but not as hard. These parts are tiny, tiny, and you see the ball there, it's tiny. Everything is tiny. So what I do is I'm going to take a bag, plastic bag. Here's my Evaporust bag. This is what sometimes I put rusted stuff in the Evaporust in here to de-rust. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put the mechanism inside the bag here, and then I'm going to pull out the pin and switch part here, and that ball hopefully is going to get caught in the bag. Okay. Okay, here's the mechanism. Here's the pawl. And I don't trust this ball. This ball is so tiny. I'm gonna use a magnet and get the ball. Here is the tiny ball bearing. And at the bottom here we have the switch. Okay, first the switch. This switch is kind of amazing. You can see, I don't know if you guys can tell how tiny this is, but look at the machining in this switch. Look at the prongs there that they had to machine for this switch. Remember that that middle protrusion, that protrusion there goes inside that part here, so it can switch back and forth. And not only that, there's also a channel in the post right here. You see that channel was machined also into this tiny post and switch, and that channel, and let's switch over to the pawl. That channel fits into this protrusion in the pawl. Like that. You see the channel and the protrusion in the pawl that keeps the pawl from spinning, and it stays the same level as the switch. I mean, that takes work. to make these tiny parts and to do that style of machining. I mean, you could, for a regular pole, you could just drill a hole and okay, fine. But to have that protrusion there in the middle of the pole, and this pole, it's small. It's a small pole, and it has 3 teeth per side. And here's the bottom of the pole and the top of the pole. Okay, remember we had that ball? We had the tiny ball. It sits on top of the spring here. Okay, let's get the spring out. So that's the ball and spring. And that's not the only part here. On the bottom here, there's another ball that's on the spring tension. So the spring is in the middle, and there's one ball at the bottom and one ball at top. The top ball is to keep the switch, to keep when it spins, to keep the side it's on. It keeps it from moving, and then the ball at the bottom on the spring tension holds on to the bottom of the cap switch here and puts it under some slight tension, so you can it hangs on to the mechanism a little bit. Okay, let's get that ball out. See if it comes out. Did it come out? I'm not sure. Let me get the magnet to get that ball out. Okay, now it came out. So you see, that's the ball on the bottom, the spring, and then the ball on top. And they drilled a hole and then peened it a little bit there to keep that tiny ball from coming out that end, but let it peek through enough to where it can provide a little tension to hold on to the switch. Okay, yeah, that's about it. Oh, here's a mechanism housing. They cut a deep channel for the pole, and here's the ball detent. The ball detent looks a little bit off center, so a lot of attention to detail in the mechanism, and they kind of went a little bit off on the ball detent on the anvil. So all in all, pretty complicated, this mechanism, and the smallness of the parts. I got my hats off to them. They did, this is pretty much like as good as it gets for a roundhead ratchet. All this machining of these tiny parts is like, I'm not surprised that these, probably you would have to pay a premium for these back in the day, but I would think it's worth it. Okay, I'm not going to put this back together because it's going to take me too long, but I'm going to put a video in the description that shows how to put back these mechanisms on the bigger ratchets. But like I said, if you're adventurous and you have a lot of patience, go ahead, try to take this apart. But like I said, to get this back together is gonna take a little while and a lot of patience. And these tiny parts, they like to fly everywhere, so I mean, be careful. Okay guys, that's all I got for now. Until next time.